everyone! Just setting this up now. Wait one moment. Trouble focusing here. Sorry about that. Trying to figure out how to. Will this be better? Okay, no, definitely this setting is better. But why are we not focused? I want you to focus on here. With apologies, we have a bit of a situation here where let's turn this on. If we turn this over here. Why is this not focusing? Tools. View, edit. Studio mode. Controls, settings, video, advanced, maybe if I go here, then then I can, something, still not letting me, that's even worse. Okay, somewhat better. Somewhat better. With apologies, we seem to be having some. Oh, maybe if I manual focus here. Aha! Okay, much better. There we go. There we go. Okay. With apologies, my camera had some settings that I'd fiddled with, and this wasn't focusing properly. Okay. Now we can go back to here and find my streaming tab. And then I can video link this here. Yep, that's live chat. Where's my Discord tab? Ta-da! Okay, so we're gonna take this and open up my references. Ta-da! And then we're gonna put that over there. With apologies, I've been a little bit slower about this than I ought to have. Let's close this thing here. And we'll put this whole tab, this whole thing over here. There we go. Okay. And then I start painting. Hello, welcome. Hello. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. Nice to meet you. Hope you're having a good Friday. I think you've had a good week thus far. Don't know if you've watched any of the previous installments. There's a little bit of a description of this painting, what I'm doing here, in the video description. New to YouTube lives. Beautiful painting. What the YouTube live feel like. It definitely depends on the live stream. I am here most Fridays, and my live streams are basically just a little bit of my studio life. This is pretty chill. I just point a camera at my work. I come and chat with some people. They've been pretty quiet lately because I'm recently back from a hiatus. But I chat with often other artists here. Chat about life and art process and pigment nerdiness and stuff. And yeah. There's a little bit of a video description in the video. Sorry, there's a little bit of a description in the video of what I'm doing here, but I'll recap. I am working on this is a painting of a lichen encrusted, slime mold encrusted fallen log from Northern Ontario, Canada. I am working on couple of projects that touch on tree bark as ecosystem. And so there's just a little bit of that. I work mostly in watercolor. So this is going to be ink and watercolor. This is a panel. This is Aquabord panel, so it's actually a clay-based finish on top of a masonite panel. So it behaves a little bit differently than paper. And then, like all panels, I can, rather than framing this behind glass, I can just treat the top with a oil wax or varnish and frame it without glass. So then these pieces get framed. I can give you a comparable like such. And often I'm trying to match the wood in the frame to the frame itself. So we have a home workshop and I've been working on matching woods. So there's this. And yeah. Do you have Insta and TikTok too? I do have an Instagram. It's not very useful. It's not very useful. It's not very used. I haven't touched my Instagram very much in the past couple years. I was finding I was getting less traction there. I haven't really gotten into TikTok very much. So can't really comment on that. How do you find TikTok? I have mixed feelings about the Aquabord surface myself. I tend to prefer smooth paper. So I find that this sort of bumpy texture is a little bit weird. And I have mixed feelings about how liftable this finish is. I feel like I will have a use for it, but I'm not entirely convinced that, I'm sure that this isn't going to be my always thing. My usual, this is a Aquabord, but I work on pretty exclusively panels, but most of my panels are an aluminum composite panel with a watercolor paper, like a traditional paper laminated to the front of them. So that gives a very different effect. So you're not going to get the whole panel here because this is too big of a panel. But then this is like a smooth watercolor paper, so then it just feels like the watercolor paper. Have I tried the Legion panels? I don't think I've tried the Legion panels specifically. There's a company out of Arizona that makes panels. I think it's Arches paper. And I started out with those, and more recently I just buy paper by the rolls, and I have a local company laminate it to panels, and then I can just specify the size. TikTok blows up pretty quick, but I'm looking into Patreon, and that comes with YouTube lives, unfortunately. Yes, if you're doing live through Patreon as part of your Patreon tiers, that works probably better with YouTube. They are integrated, technically, so I guess Patreon is now owned by Alphabet. Yeah, I mean, I've used Legion paper and I've used aluminum composite panels. Legion paper I like just fine, and I do like working on panels. So I haven't tried them specifically, but they sound like pretty much exactly what I use. Again, at this point, I just have my own panels made for me. And then right now I've got a roll of arches, but like that's not a brand loyalty thing necessarily, just the hot press paper that was easiest for me to get in a roll of the correct size. Hate Legion paper. Hot press and cold press do not hold up to tape or masking fluid at all. Interesting. I have a hate-on for masking fluid, and I've never really used tape, so I couldn't really comment on that. I did at one point do a year-long project where I was working on all Stonehenge aqua paper. I think I did a little bit of masking fluid. Yeah. Yeah, masking fluid, I have a hate on for. There are occasional things where it's like, you know, it would be nice to use masking fluid, but I'll honestly, kind of person who will like find other alternatives and like go kill myself like painting little details around things rather than messing with masking fluid, because I have just a hate on for masking fluid. Just finicky. I don't like how it dries. Like, it's not even about the removing it from a painting. Just stinks because students will use it, so it's hard to suggest Legion because of it. Ah. Right. Yeah. How do you apply masking fluid? Like, I've been both impressed with I've seen masking fluid applied. I was taught to do, like, you can get some like really interesting line effects by applying masking fluid with a drawing nib, like a dip pen. If you get like a fine mapping nib and you get just the right kind of masking fluid and you use it before it goes off, you can apply it quite nicely and make some really nice fine line details, and a couple of times I've done that. But alas, I just find that finicky and like, oh, okay, now I haven't done that in several months. Oh no, my masking fluid has gone off, so now I can't. Now I have to get new masking fluid. This one was already old at the shop. Tell me you've tried Yupo paper before. I have. I cannot recommend. Well, I mean, I've painted on vellum, and at some point I thought, oh, well, Yupo is kind of like vellum, but it's like vellum on steroids. And I think I paint too many finicky little details, but too wet to really make use of Yupo. Like, if you paint either extremely, extremely dry brush, or just let things flow all in one layer, then Yupo can be fun. But I find that even to a lesser degree, this stuff is just a little bit too lifting. I need my paints to hold on somewhat. I have a Discord server, so this is being painted mostly from photo reference. As much as I love to paint from life, I don't have this particularly very crusty twig in front of me. I do have a Discord server, link is in the description below. I've tried it all the ways, it's just that paper does terrible with it. I just use Saunders. I find Saunders difficult to source where I am. Just the local stores don't carry it, and whereas with paints, honestly just as happy to have them shipped from elsewhere. That's not so much for paper. For paper is easier to get locally, and none of the local shops stock Saunders hot press. I don't like the rubbery, like, I mean, I also don't like acrylic paint. I like watercolor, or if I want something with more body, oil or gouache or something, but just the tacky, rubbery, the way that acrylic and especially masking fluid dry just turns me off, so. Love Yupo, but I forced myself to be goodish with it. How do you use Yupo? Are you a very loose painter, or are you doing super heavily detailed stuff with it? And also, I guess, how does I guess masking fluid probably works beautifully with Yupo, right? Like, it comes right off? There's an interesting thought. If you like Yupo and you want to try panels, so there's this Aquabord stuff, but they also make something called Claybord that's usually used for ink or oil, I think. And it has a glassy, smooth Yupo-like texture. And so as a result, it kind of behaves like Yupo, where like nothing holds on to it. You can paint one layer of watercolor and let it dry, and then you put something else on top of it and it lifts right back up again. So if the texture of the Aquabord bothers you, but you get along with Yupo, they do make, Ampersand does make a Claybord panel that has a Yupo-like finish. And it's just the same thing as this, only smoother. But yeah, you can see here, like, I'm doing this weird painting around things rather than, like, would this be an opportunity for masking fluid? Oh, probably, but I don't feel like using masking fluid. I don't like masking fluid. I would sooner scrape up my paper. That's the other thing, is I do sometimes use just very, very heavy paper. Or even the lighter stuff will work if it's mounted to a panel, and then scrape out highlights with an X-Acto. Hi! Hello! Thank you! You want to go outside? Really? But I'm doing a live stream. Can you wait? No? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to step out for just a moment to let my... Thank you! My service dog outside. Oh, sorry. I will be right back. Hi, Steven. Go, go, go. Go, go get an emperor. And back. How's your week been, Stephen? Ah. Oh. And then I'll just here get some more of this stuff in there. I'm going to move this over slightly this way. And hopefully, actually, I'm going to just adjust. Except for a sore knee. What happened to your knee? And then I'm actually going to... Oh. What did I do? I wanted to actually... Sorry. And then I need to focus, focus, focus. Sorry, I'm going to be out of focus for a moment here, because I just want to readjust this framing a tiny bit. In order to record a portion of this, because I could use this in my next video. And so we're gonna Can I? There we go. We're gonna record here and we're gonna, focus in this. That'll work. And then I'll start recording. I did visit the TriArt webpage for info on their watercolors, mostly unhelpful, even a bit annoying. Sorry, how so? I have not tried their watercolors. I find, I mean, to be honest, I've developed, I guess, quirky taste in pigments, and so I find it really difficult looking at most brands like, well, they don't have the pigments that I want. And then to add to things, to add to issues with TriArt, they have weird pan sizes, so you can't just get like regular half pans or full pans. If you get their pan watercolors, there's some weird proprietary size. And then if you get their tubes, I'm not impressed. It's a specific type of tube. It's like a plasticky tube with a different cap than regular watercolors that I've only ever seen otherwise with some student grade watercolors, and I don't not just student grade, actually. The other watercolors that use tubes like that are, what's the Australian brand that I tried? I don't like the tubes. So there's an issue of I don't like any of the formats they offer. And then I have additional, like, I mean, I really don't need more paints, but if I was going to get more paints, I'd want specific pigments that, you know, they don't carry most of. So, my wanting to love TriArt is hindered a little bit by that. Now, I do think that they have some really cool things that aren't watercolors. So they have some interesting recycled oil and acrylic grounds. So if you are preparing panels, they have like textured things that have various recycled substances in them, that's neat. And then they have oil paints, and they also have aluminum panels cut to, you know, various sizes, which is neat if I want to make my own panels in between, because I mostly have panels made for me. I have made panels myself, it is possible, but it's a pain, and I'm a slob, and all my everything is filled with animal hair, so I prefer to have most of my panels made by somebody else. But being able to have pre-cut panels, as well as they even have panels that are mounted on a frame, like they're a sort of like a canvas depth, like they have a, you know, a inch or half-inch mount on them, which I've been wanting to try. They also have recycled fabric stretched on, both sold plain and stretched on, like on a canvas stretcher, that can be used as a base for oil or acrylic. Now acrylic I'd like to use as little as possible. I really do not get along well with acrylic. But I do have some interest in using oil paints. So so if anything, I find that tri-art might be an opportunity for those other things, other interests. But yeah, I kind of want to try the tri-art watercolors because they're Canadian, because I'm, you know, trying to buy Canadian in other ways. It's like, okay, well, I'm an artist, I should try the Canadian art supplies, but man, am I ever not tempted. Oh, on the composition of them, even if they use honey or whatever. So if you open up their main website, their pigment, like their paint listings do have the pigment numbers on there. They are, I think you have to open up the like more info drop down in the listing, but like that is there. I know that because I've gone through, like because I've been looking through tri-art and other places to put together an order of Canadian material. So the pigments are there. They are vegan. So they don't have honey, they've got a sugar syrup alternative. It sounds like they're a similar composition to like Da Vinci. So they're vegan watercolors, no honey. But they do have a humectant in them. So like presumably a sugar syrup, something like what you would see in Da Vinci paints. Okay, sorry. I can open that up for you real quick. Try art. Shop. So it's on the individual, like if you click on their professional watercolors, and then you click on each, like quick view, whatever, and what happened? I mean, sorry. Professional watercolors, and then if I, where was it? Where was it? Have they changed this? I checked it all of like a week ago. I mean, I guess their tube images on the website have it, but there was a, where's the info thing? Where'd it go? Okay, I have no idea. I can give them that feedback because I do have their I do have a whatever affiliate account discount thing, Shopify partner, whatever it's called, account with them. So actually, I should probably do that anyway. If you wait, I can give you a 10% discount on TriArt. I'll send that to you directly, and then I'll make a content thing that includes it. Because I do have a discount code for them. I believe I get 15 or 25% off, and that I can give out 10% discounts. But I'm not even sure of that. It's been a while. Yes, so what I am seeing now is more similar to you. I don't know if I was, because they do have two websites. There's the TriArt one, as well as Art Noise is also just TriArt. Like, it's their retail storefront where they sell TriArt supplies and also a couple of other things. So maybe that's the one that had the more info pigment thing on it, because I was going back and forth for a while. Fascinating. Anyway, they are neat because they are one of the few actual substantial art materials companies that manufactures their products within Canada, which is cool. We have a few Canadian art suppliers, but they are not, most of them are still importing their products. Yeah, you have to go one paint at a time, and then you have to click on because the default is the pans versus the tubes. Yeah, so I think maybe I was on the art, either they changed it recently or I was on the Art Noise website. Because I know that Art Noise is, like, it's literally, it's the same people running both websites, and they are very similar in a lot of ways. So it's possible that that was just the other website. It doesn't matter because, like, if you are wanting to buy things, I can probably get you a discount, but I suspect that it's only valid for triart.ca and not the Art Noise website, which is a whole different thing. Anyway, and if you have specific wants or just feedback, I'm also happy to pass it on because I should be contacting them soon anyway. And I guess I probably have some kind of an in. Welcome, new people. Seems like I've got a couple of extra people who've joined in recently. I can get 10% off a first order at Art Noise if I subscribe. That's probably all that I can offer anyway, so that is, and I think that the prices on Art Noise are the same as the prices on tryart.ca, so that is equivalent to what I can offer anyway. But if you have feedback, I do need to contact. I'm sorry for anyone watching who is not Canadian and was a little bit bored or frustrated by that discussion. You have a very specific Canadian manufacturer that's probably hard to get anywhere else. Sorry, not sorry, because I'm going to be making a video about it. see, over here I've got some... The engram doesn't say. There are two pigments that are commonly used for white, and that probably matters more than the brand, especially when it comes to white gouache. Okay. In general, I find the brand doesn't matter a huge amount, certainly for watercolor. In most respects, gouache is a little bit different in that there are two basically like schools of thought about how gouache should behave. So one of them is that gouache should always be of a similar opacity level, and it should always, be on the opaque side. And in that case, there's white opacifiers mixed in with all pigments, but especially there's more white opacifiers mixed in with pigments that are transparent by nature in order to bring everything to a consistent opaque level. Or the other school of thought in gouache is leave it up to the artist, and don't add the white beforehand. So, it's formulated to be easier to use is in an opaque format, but it's basically just thicker watercolor with an excess of pigments, which is basically what M-gram watercolor is to begin with. So M-gram gouache is definitely, that school of thought is less gum arabic, more pigment, but basically just a watercolor in the sense of there's no opacifiers in, in a phthalo-based blue, it's just more phthalo. The white gouache is interesting because there are two kinds of white gouache. So there is a mixing white, which is made with, oh goodness, my brain's not working properly. Titanium is an opaque white. And then the other white is, what's that made with? I'm gonna have to go find, hey, maybe TriArt can answer this question for me. Shop. Watercolors. Zinc white. Sorry. So there's titanium white and zinc white. And zinc white is always just going to be less opaque. It's still white, it's still an opacifier, but it is mostly used for it is also, I believe, a slightly warmer white. So mixing white into your paints all white pigments tend, all things that read as perfectly white pigments to us tend to have a bit of a bluish undertone to them, but some more than others. Mixing white will have less of a blue shift, less of a cooling effect on your colors. So if you are using a white to mix with your colors to make them more opaque or to add highlights, it will have less of that cooling effect, which means you need to add less of a warm color to counter it, basically. So if you are adding highlights and you just add a mix of your color plus a bunch of white, it will tend to have the effect that because the white is cooler, the white paint has a cooler tone than the paper that has a little bit of the paper or the surface that tends to have a little bit of a warmer color to it, a little bit more of a yellow undertone. You're going to end up with something that just looks a little bit off. Because usually areas that are in light will look warmer. So it's just it can throw things off. And so if you're actually mixing your whites and you want to use something that isn't unbleached lead white, you're probably going to want to add a little bit of usually a yellow to your whites, to your white mixes. That is less necessary if you use a mixing white. It's also a little bit easier to balance your gradations if you use a white that's a little bit less overpowering, but it does mean if you try to add highlights after the fact and you use white rather than, you use zinc white rather than titanium white, and you're adding like sharp white highlights, they're gonna end up looking kind of transparent and milky, or be more prone to that. So my suspicion that is less of an issue that you're experiencing with Graham gouache and more of an issue that you are experiencing with the type of white that you're using. It may also be that it wants more than one pass, or it wants to be applied a little bit drier, or with a little bit drier, or with a brush that isn't scraping up and mixing, like depending on how much you work it. If you are working up the previous pigment, that's also just going to mix and come up through. So if you have like a thick layer of another pigment underneath and you, I guess, agitate the paper, you're going to mix up those pigments. The only respect in which I think that the brand matters is that M. Graham, be it watercolors, but especially their gouache, does have an overabundance of pigment in it, which means it is particularly prone to that agitation coming up. And that's noticeable even in their watercolors. If you paint in a sketchbook and you close the page and you rub it around, you're going to see rub off on the opposite page. If you live somewhere like Kitchener-Waterloo, and you have a very, very, you use groundwater and it's a limestone base, you're going to have very hard water, and that's going to mean that all of your watercolors react with the minerals in the water. And if they are underbound, if they are not coated completely in the gum arabic, then they're going to start clumping and making weird textures, which is absolutely a thing that M. Graham paints do more than any other paint I've ever experienced. They're underbound. Yeah, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a flaw in their manufacturing. And like, they're a lovely you know, family-run company, and their watercolors are great, wonderful, very affordable depending on where you are. And if you don't work with hard water, if you protect your watercolors, either put some kind of fixative on them, like spray a fixative on them, or use like a glassine paper between your pages, or otherwise protect it, and then the fact that they lift won't bother you. You can embrace the clumping, or if you don't have hard water, it's not an issue. But just in so like, you know, this flaw in their manufacturing process might not be a problem for you. And I don't mean this to discourage anyone from using M. Graham watercolors, you know, other than the fact that they're American, and if you're outside of the US, you might be wanting to send them a bit of a message about shopping habits. But otherwise, like, I don't have any ill will towards M. Graham as a company. They seem lovely, and their watercolors have served me well. But I do think that there is in as much as, you know, brand ever matters, there is, I think, what is, you know, technically a flaw in their process and their design. So most brands will have those two. I mean, they're not the only two white pigments. There's chalk white, and there's unbleached titanium, and probably a bunch of others that I'm forgetting. But almost every brand will have in every brand, and also in every medium, like whether it's watercolor or gouache or oil or acrylic, a zinc white and a titanium white, and they are used for different things. So zinc white is for mixing with another color and creating smooth mixes, and titanium white is for adding white highlights, or if you want something that's more heavily white and has more of that opacity to it, then you use titanium white. That makes sense. On the art noise page, the paints seem to be listed at random. Well, that's unhelpful. I do like on the tri-art page that they are listed, you know, by color. I like that about the Desserts sorts their paints that way as well. At random isn't my favorite. But I have to say, I like at random better than the Gwartzmann solution, and Gwartzmann's isn't the only example here. It's just the one I've looked at most recently. Again, nothing against Gwartzmann's. Gwartzmann's is wonderful. It's very common on particularly smaller like art suppliers where they sell for multiple brands, is they'll sort by brand and by series. So it's like, oh, here's all the series 1 colors, and here's all the series 2 colors, you know, series 1 through 6. And I understand why that's an easy way to sort things, because it means that you're inputting all the things that have the same price point. And so it's an easy way to sort when you're creating the listings. As a consumer, though, it sucks. Because when I'm shopping for a color, I don't know what series it is. I mean, I might have some sense because I'm a particularly, I guess, informed customer where, you know, I know that the cobalts are going to be on the higher end. But first of all, some brands have 3 series, some brands have 8 series. I don't know how many series there are, and if a brand has 5 or 6 or 8 series, how do I know? A quinacridone rose. Is that a series 1, a series 2, a series 3, a series 4, a series 5? I have no idea. And so to find the color that I'm looking for, to even find out if the brand has a color that I'm looking for, I have to go look through all of them. I hate that sorting system. That is all. If you are starting an art supply company and you would like to sell to me, that is a way to make me crazy. Please don't. Rant over. I tend to search for cobalt blue. I got all the brands and formats, pens, pastels, whatever. Yes, that is an approach I've used, but then you have to go search through, like you have to search individually, and I don't know, like sometimes, you know, I'm browsing blues and I would like sorting by color, you know, I might be like, oh, here are some of the blues I like. I'd like to maybe get another cobalt. Or, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I have things sorted in my brain. But I think the truth is, like, however you have things sorted in your brain, it might be by color, it might be by brand, it might be... But who has their paints sorted in their head by series? Nobody. No human. That's useful as a shop, but not as a consumer. Nope. Sorry, I've got a knock at the door I have to go answer. I'll be right back. I'm alone here today, so... With apologies. My husband bought a jointer at auction, and is bringing it into the basement. He wasn't expected to be back just yet because he had to get both his jointer, which is huge, and some things for his brother-in-law at this auction that he was going to. And so he has to go back and pick up things for his brother-in-law because they didn't fit in the car. So he was hoping that I was going to be able to help manage moving this jointer inside, but I'm not because I'm live. Apologies for the crying dog in the background. My in-laws are, you know, the best of people, and she loves my father-in-law a great deal, and she's going to be upset because my husband and his dad have been in and out, and Jordan is bringing in his new jointer and then leaving again, and that's just going to upset Ember a great deal. So yes, apologies for that. You're just going to have to put up with a very upset dog. What if I move? Sorry. Okay, I should record a little bit more of this, but then I'm going to need to stop soonish because otherwise my hard drive is going to crap out on me. I need to go through. We don't have our home server online right now, and my hard drive is overwhelmed with video, which I need to go through, figure out what I'm saving, and delete the rest, and then hopefully get the home server back up and running. I mean, no problem. I'm still here. I'm still streaming. I did have to run down and let the dog in, get the door, but my husband can handle himself from here. He's just going to have to do it without me. No problem. He's a big boy. He can manage. Sorry. Oh, you were reacting not to me having to go to open the door, but me talking about the state of my stream. Yeah, well, I mean, I can record and stream. So I'm using a software called OBS that allows me to stream, and then I can also record while I'm streaming, and I can stream as long as I want, but if I'm recording, then it's, you know, that's using up my hard drive. So I just need to keep an eye on this because I wanted to record some of this because I'm going to be making a video about my use of this palette, which has all sorts of not so very light, fast pigments in it, which is something that I've avoided for finished work in the past, and that I've come to be very okay with in like very recent history. Like right here, I'm using a PG8 green, and that's something, and this is a painting that will go in a real exhibition and be sold as a finished painting. It's not like a sketchbook thing. And so that's something that I went through a long period where I just simply wouldn't have done this, and now I do. And so I'm going to be making a video about that, but whatever. I need some B-roll footage. I figured it would be useful to include some of this, but I need to make sure that I don't record 3 hours of video because that's going to burn out my hard drive. Hi! And then that would lead to suddenly, well, I don't know what would happen, but it's possible that they would just kill the process that's recording, which would be my streaming software. So that would lead to my stream cutting out suddenly, which we don't want. So we need to make sure that I'm not streaming forever because I don't have forever amounts of hard drive. So I'm going to stop recording here. And I might start recording in a little bit again, especially if I go in and delete some stuff, but otherwise I just have to stream, not record. But again, yeah, because I'm talking about the palette, I want the palette in screen, so I just wanted to adjust things, make sure that I had the B-roll that I want to have out of this. Because the other thing that I've been sort of exploring a little bit is trying to use more of my just day-to-day painting, day-to-day life as video material, rather than having a whole separate process for making video and you know, creating footage for the videos that I'm making completely separately from things that I'm doing for other projects. And there's always going to be some overlap that, you know, if I'm making, oh boy indeed, that is a lot of, let's try refreshing this. How much of my hard drive is taken? Oh, yeah, that's not so bad. It's only like 98% taken. Jeebus. Okay, let's see. Maybe I can delete some... maybe if I... recent... And... sorry, this is very boring to watch. I apologize. We're just going to, you know what? I can just, that's a lot of different video that I don't need. So I can just remove all of these things that I'm never going to use again. And we're going to move to trash. And then we're going to trash that. Empty the trash, please. Yes, empty trash. Aha! Okay. And then if I go to... yes. Well, now we have 161 gigs available. How is that even worse? I just deleted a whole bunch of things. Why is that worse? I don't like it. Because it updated with the... with apologies, I'm gonna have to do this again. And find... oh, that probably has a whole bunch of... Yep, there's some more things I can delete. If I take all of those and all of those, they're kind of small actually. And I send them to the trash. Then I go back to what else? Oh, no, that's only got export in it. This is super old, so I can get rid of all of those. Oh yeah, and those are some multiple gig things that I can delete. And, no. And we trash that, empty, and then, let's see, okay, well, 200 gigs available is plenty. Not about to burn out. Great. Perfect. Let's see, back to my, oh, there's that. And I need to go see my reference again. Nope. References. And this one. And that one can go over here. So no, over here. There we go. Then what if I, oh, I'm gonna have to lift another highlight out of here, aren't I? Yep, one big highlight. One big highlight. There we go. And we dab that up. Quieter stream again today, which isn't a problem, just interesting. And then if I take this, and what if I go to here? Yep, and I start recording again, because I do have enough room for that. And we give this a little bit more light that way. Oh, interesting, little flash. I need to scrape that, which I need a better scraper brush. This is not ideal, but it's what I have closest. Yeah, this is too long. Okay. Do you hear my howling little wolf outside? My neighbors think we have wolves. Like, not we personally, but they think because we live next to the railroad tracks where sometimes wolves come up. I've had several neighbors tell me that I should, oh, by the way, you should watch, and maybe, so my dog is allowed to hang out outside on a long line, and I have neighbors who love her and are worried about her well-being. Oh, good job on my microphone filtering that then, because there's wolf howls. And you see, I have neighbors who love my dog and worry about her well-being, and that there shouldn't be, they worry about her well-being because, there's a wolf pack that's been active. And every so often I get some warning from the neighbors. Oh, by the way, you should keep an eye on Ember, make sure that she's indoors, especially in the evenings, because there's a wolf pack that's active. And every time I've asked, it's been like 4 different neighbors have told me this. And every time I ask, oh, okay, did you see the wolves? No, I didn't see the wolves, but they've been howling. Okay, when did these wolves howl? And it's very odd. This wolf pack only ever howls when my husband leaves the house without Ember. They're just the strangest wolves. Weird codependent wolves. What a coincidence, I know! I gotta keep my dog safe! Because the wolves have only ever come by when my husband's not there. Anyway, she's generally not a particularly loud dog, but unfortunately she does have some codependent behaviors. But I guess good job on my cameras, or not cameras, whatever, I'm on a microphone right now, but good job on the microphone's voice isolation if you're not picking up wolf howls, because there's wolf howls. My laptop volume is pretty low. Yeah, so the interesting thing about the wolf howls is that they're not, necessarily super loud. Like, she can make louder noises, but man, does the howl ever carry. So she usually, the truth is, like 99% of the time, the only reason she ever howls is if my husband leaves the house without her and she's outside. She sees him leave, especially if he's leaving with my in-laws and not taking her, and she will howl, and she'll keep howling. She's actually, weirdly, even though she's my service dog and she comes everywhere with me, and that's probably the reason why she has these codependent behaviors, she does not usually howl when I leave without her, which does happen. not as frequently, not frequently at all, ever, honestly. We specifically have to contrive reasons for her to be left home alone because she comes with me, like 98% of the places I go, she comes with me, and because my husband works from home, so even the odd time that I leave without her, there's still someone home. So we try to contrive every few months some way of leaving her home when we both go somewhere, just so that she can be okay with being left alone. But nonetheless, she really freaks out if my husband leaves, even if I'm still here. She tends to be more okay if I leave without her and my husband is here. I guess she just trusts that I don't go anywhere exciting. Surely I'll be back soon. Whereas my husband is always home, so the odd time that he does go, it's a big deal. Or something. I don't know. But the one time I did leave in the morning, and I left without letting her know, and she was out in the yard, and I was going out to the garden, and she freaked out. So I have a community garden, sort of. It's a plot in a neighbor's yard, and I'm adding a greenhouse to that garden. And so the neighbor in question has a friend who is moving and has a greenhouse. So he had me come over, and then we drove out to the friend's house to look at the greenhouse. I left without Ember because I didn't think it was a good idea. Like, I don't need her if I've got another human with me the whole time. She's a medical alert service dog. She'll let me know if I'm going to have a migraine or like a dizzy spell. And I don't need her because she's very useful if I'm going to be out alone or like not always with people, I'm walking, to have that 10-15 minute notice before I get really dizzy and disoriented and stumble all over myself. But if I'm out with people, then if I do have an episode, I don't need to know ahead of time because I have a person to watch out for me. So she's really useful if I'm out up north or something and I'm out sketching out in the woods, and it would be nice to know before I'm stumbling all over myself and can't see straight that I'm going to have a migraine, so that she can bring me somewhere safe. Like, that is a huge service. It is not nearly as necessary if I'm going to be nearby with another human. And if something happens and I'm incapacitated, the other human can take care of me. Even if they don't know ahead, when they do find out, they'll take care of me. So, whatever. I was going to this neighbor's house, and then we were going to drive over to take a look at this greenhouse. Because we were visiting someone else, I didn't want to bring Ember along in case, the guy we were visiting has a dog or has a dog phobia or whatever reasons. It didn't seem necessary or useful to have Ember there. So I left without Ember. And she freaked out because it was out of character, early in the morning. Where the hell are you going without me? The guy lives down the street. And I could hear 2 blocks away, I could still hear the wolf howls. She started out just barking, like, hey, you're leaving without me, and then she starts howling. And I get to the neighbor's house, and I'm just laughing because I can hear from up the street this wolf howl. Like, well, of course I'm getting warnings from the neighbors, because you can be 2 blocks away and you hear the wolf howl. You don't necessarily know which house it's coming from. I asked the neighbor, I was like, you hear that wolf howl? He's like, No, no. Oh, yeah, there is a wolf howl. Like, yeah, it's not a wolf, that's my dog. Freaking out because I'm not there. But, kind of amusing. Kind of amusing. Ember. Ember bug. Yeah, so the barks are louder, but the howls carry more. Where, I mean, I can't hear dogs bark from 2 blocks away, but I can hear the howls. Like, it's just like the quality of sound or something. The howls carry. That's howling again. So now she's quieting down. And then she stops. She has a pause. She does a few little barky yip things. And then she does a howl. Quiet again. Hi, Mom. Welcome here. How's your week been, Mom? I checked Core's page, that's also a bit slow. Pop-ups with some swatches, you have to click again to get an info page. Although there is... Yes, so what Core does really well is that they do actually have fantastic... they're owned by Golden, and this is true of all of their paints, but especially their watercolors. They really do have fantastic property information. Full ingredients list, MSDS, testing, opacity, like they do lovely swatching. They're very thorough about their light fastness and materials information, and they do have in-house swatching and property info for all of their paints. Them and Schminke, and in some ways actually Core does more of it, which is really wonderful to see. But I'm not really surprised that there's some navigation issues with their website. To be honest, it's like I can complain about everyone else's website. It's not like my website is all perfect and wonderful. But there's definitely a well, learning all about what I don't like in various websites. In addition to the pigment number, yeah. Yeah. Alas, Core, Golden, that's another American company. Have I led you astray? Because you started out with M. Graham. I feel like I put you onto Da Vinci and Core as well. All the American companies. I guess at the time, like, Schminke and etc. weren't really available in Canada, so it was, you get Winsor Newton, maybe Holbein, and then American companies. There was that big sale when Curry's sold off their Da Vinci stock. Seems like Curry's is defunct now. There's no more Curry's. That's upsetting. How many hours of content can I make out of this tiny little 6x6 piece of panel? Many, apparently. I started with 2 Winsor Newton paints a decade ago, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, from the art store, then mostly shopped at Curry's. Right, and Curry's at the time carried Winsor Newton, Da Vinci, Core, M. Graham. ultramarine and burnt siennas. If you're gonna have a 2-color palette, that is a start, right? Was it the, oh, which version of the, if it was years and years ago, which version of the Winsor Newton burnt sienna was it? Was that before, like, was that when they still used PBR7 for their burnt sienna? Because Winsor Newton, oh, I don't know, at least the past, like, 15, 20 years, has, they have a PR 101 based burnt sienna, and it tends to throw people because they're the default available everywhere, and then they get burnt sienna somewhere else, and instead of being this orangey color that you get from Winsor Newton, it's a much less orange. It's iron oxide. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong or like right or wrong about either one. It's just at one point I know that Winsor Newton used traditional PBR7 burnt sienna, and that now they don't. I'm kind of curious that, like, okay, well, if you started out with that, like, literally decades ago, did you start out? I think it has actually been, like, probably 20, 30 years at least since they switched, but I don't know because I didn't really I really only started painting seriously with watercolor about a decade ago. My core PR 254 is the same with it. I would imagine so. Yeah, core paints are a long way. They don't. I don't know. Maybe their mixing is just more thorough. But they seem to have a comparable pigment load to M. Graham or Roman Schmal. But unlike M. Graham and Roman Schmal, core paints. Maybe it's the Aquasol. Core paints don't flocculate. They're not underbound. Okay, my back is starting to ache a little bit, so I think I'm actually gonna end this here. Thank you so much for joining. Let me go find this guy and definitely stop recording before I stop streaming. I'm just gonna check this. I'll probably get one more week of content out of this, but then this is actually getting done, which is nice. I can work on something else. Maybe I can try some oil paint on stream. Whoa, wouldn't that be interesting? Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Yeah, oil paint. Ooh, Canadian oil paint. In fact, I have a variety of oil. Okay, I am actually going to go, before I sign off, I'm going to check my oil paint stash. Because I got oil paints. Aha. Right, so, I do have Gamblin. So, okay, so here's my oil paint stash. I have some mediums from M. Graham and, is this Kama? Nope, Gamblin. So I have some mediums from Graham, Gamblin, and Winsor Newton. Did I buy this? I don't think I bought this. I think my assistant bought this. I bought a bunch of oil paints wanting to start oil painting, and then that didn't happen. And at some point my assistant had some project she wanted to try and asked me about oil paints and what I would recommend brand-wise, and I said I don't really have great recommendations because I'm not a oil painter, except that I did buy a bunch of oil paints, so if you'd like to just borrow mine and find out for yourself, go for it. So I lent her my oil painting supplies. Oh, interesting. So I've got, yes. And then I think neither of us bought these. These I think were free from the studio. Somebody else was disposing of student grade watercolor at the studio, so I have, or not watercolor, student grade oil paints at the studio, so I have student grade oil paints. I hope that after handing her oil paints, Destiny didn't buy these, but I don't think she did. I think that these are actually, if I recall correctly, there was a pile of oil paints that somebody was getting rid of at the studio and that Destiny may have just grabbed them. So I have a bunch of student grade oil paints, but then of the ones that I actually bought, I have, I have Gamblin, I have Comma, that's a Canadian brand, and I have M. Graham. But my Canadian supplies are well represented in my oil paints because I have Comma, and actually I'm going to be getting some Tri-Art supplies as well, so that can also go into my art supplies from Canada stuff, and I can talk about oil painting. So that will probably be a couple weeks from now, because next week I'll finish this up, but then maybe I'll schedule it way ahead. Yeah. Alright, that's that. Yeah, my hands are all oily now. Okay. Bye!